Are you too busy? Too stressed out? Unhealthy? Then this is the place for you. Welcome to Balanced Living for Busy Professionals, where we help you create wellness and balance with a holistic approach that will work for you, even with the busiest of schedules, so you can live the life you want. And now, here's your host, Diane Randall.
Hello and welcome. I'm so excited that you're joining me again. Too often our mental and physical wellness is our last priority to our jobs and our obligations. We assume there's never enough time, stress takes over, our self-care takes a back seat, our well-being suffers, and we feel powerless to stop it. In today's episode, I'm going to talk to you about the concept of wellness and how you can create your own personal foundation of wellness so that you feel ramped up to handle life's hurdles. So before we get started, I'd like to just go over some quick announcements. I want to invite you to visit my website, Diane Randall Consults. I want you to check out the upcoming events page for the latest webinars, workshops, teleseminars, and the latest monthly online discussion where I answer your questions to help you integrate the changes you would like to make based on our podcast conversations. I really wanted to talk about the subject of wellness today on this podcast because I talk about well-being, wellness, and balance so much. I need you to understand and have a framework to work from when we are having these conversations in the future. I want you to give me your full attention so that you understand what's available to you to help support you in your daily life. And it doesn't matter how busy your schedules are. I will always tell you how you can implement change even with the busiest schedule. So, as I was preparing for this podcast, I was reminded of my own struggles to create well-being in my own life. In the past, I was so busy with the doingness of life. I was running around. I was always on a schedule, just focusing on all the things I thought were important priorities to me at the time. I was a divorced single mother, raising two children, a technology professional working in a highly demanding career, and I was a college student. I remember living my life from day to day with a lot of stress and fatigue in which I felt it was just a part of life and I had no control over it. I was so conditioned to believe that I couldn't change anything. It was just how things were. My mantra at the time was do what you got to do no matter what, but I never thought about the overload, the stress and fatigue until one day I was at work and I went to the nurse's office because I wasn't feeling well. I started hyperventilating and I just couldn't catch my breath. I could feel my heart beating and pounding in my chest, and my blood pressure was so high. Far too high for someone my age at the time. I was so afraid I thought I was having a heart attack. Fast forward, I had experienced my first anxiety attack, and I would go on to have two more anxiety attacks before I started to wake up and figure out what was going on. It's so interesting. Once I became aware, it still took time for me to take action, but I did have the awareness of how my mind and body felt in that state of unbalance. So when the dynamics of my life would pile up, and I was at my wit's end, I would lock myself in my bedroom and ask my family not to knock on the door because I needed space and I didn't feel well and I needed to rest. I would literally lie down in the bed and get really still and really quiet because I felt that if I said one more word or if I moved, I was just going to lose it. I didn't know exactly what that meant, but it surely didn't feel like it was going to be a good thing. I would shut down until the feelings of stress and being out of control passed. until it disappeared, and then I would resume my life. And I remember telling my doctor at the time about my stress level, and his response was that my lifestyle was a stress dynamic, and I misinterpreted what he said as something I had no control over. So, as time went on, I watched my health, my emotions, and my sense of self just slowly slip away until one day I really woke up with an awareness of what was happening to me. I started researching, soul searching, and educating myself because I needed to define what was important to me. I needed to figure out how I was going to sustain myself because I knew my job was not going to sustain me and the lifestyle that I had was not going to sustain me. What I realized was that I had to create habits, healthy habits in my life for my mind, body, and spirit that would support me and bring more balance into my life. And that's what I'm here to do with you today on this podcast, is to help you get it together and take 100% responsibility for your well-being and begin to make some real changes. With that said, I want to talk about wellness. What is wellness? Okay, the definition of wellness in a broad sense is that it is the quality or state of being healthy in mind, body, and spirit, especially as a result of a deliberate effort. And what that means is you have to take action to make this possible. It's a full integration of states of physical, mental, and spiritual well-being. And this includes 7 areas of life which interact in a way that contribute to a high quality life. And what I mean by that is I'm going to walk through the 7 areas just so you get some idea of what wellness contains or what it means. So the first area is social wellness, and it's the ability to relate to yourself and connect with other people in the world. And it's your ability to establish and maintain positive relationships with family, friends, and also cultivate relationships with people you don't know. The second one is emotional wellness, and this is that you understand yourself and you can cope with the challenges of life. It's the ability to acknowledge and share your feelings of anger, fear, sadness, and stress. Also, hope, joy, and happiness in a productive manner. And the third one is your ability to establish peace and harmony in your life and develop congruency between your values and actions and realize a common purpose that binds creation together. The fourth one is the ability to recognize your own responsibility for the quality of the air, the water, the land that surrounds us. The ability to make a positive impact on the environment, for example, our homes, our communities, our planet. The fifth one is occupational wellness, the ability to get personal fulfillment from our jobs and our chosen career fields while still maintaining balance in our lives. And it's that desire to contribute your career to make a positive impact on the company you work for, as well as society as a whole. The sixth one, intellectual wellness. Now, here's where you have the ability to have an open mind to new ideas and experiences that can be applied to personal decisions, groups, interaction, and community betterment. And this is also where you learn new concepts and improve your skills and seek challenges in pursuit of lifelong learning. And number 7, physical wellness. This is the ability to maintain a healthy quality of life that allows you to get through your daily activities without undue fatigue or physical stress. It's also where you choose behaviors that have a significant impact on your wellness and you adopt healthy habits such as getting your routine checkups, eating a balanced diet, and exercise, while avoiding destructive habits such as smoking, taking drugs, drinking too much alcohol. And all this leads to optimal health. This is the idea here. I want you to look at wellness as a process rather than looking at it as something you achieve and that you check off your to do list. I want you to know that there's no destination you arrive at. You must be deliberate and choose behaviors that will lead you toward a desired state of well being. The definition of wellness is different. It's different for everyone. Everyone you ask the question, what is wellness, will have a different definition. And some of you will have to work hard at it, and some of you it'll seem kind of easy. But either way, your own personal wellness journey often arises out of a lack of balance somewhere in your life in one or more of the 7 areas I spoke about. So I'm going to give you an example of a personal definition, and this has been my personal definition for a few years. And it's been a journey, a continuous process where I have taken very small steps on a daily basis to be my best mentally, physically, and spiritually. And it's been a process of developing and executing healthy habits that allow me to age well, experience optimal health, and sustain the energy that I need to get through the challenges of my life without impacting my whole existence. And by working on the different areas of life on a daily basis over time, I'm able to approach my life with all of the energy, the balance, the optimism, health, and joy that I need to be a companion, a friend, a mom, a grandma. Yes, I'm a grandma. A coach, consultant, speaker, and trainer. Just imagine what your own personal definition of wellness would look like at this very moment. I want you to close your eyes quickly and just think about that for a few seconds. And if you'd like, you can even write that down, or you can look in the show notes and follow those later. What's your personal definition of wellness, and how does it show up in your life? And if you're not sure if this means something to you, I want to ask you a question. What is it costing you to do nothing and move from there? So I'd like to give you a few pointers to help you free up some time and get started. I'd like you to recognize that wellness is a choice and that you must put yourself first. And yeah, I hear you. I know. It's just something you can't fathom, but you know what? You must put yourself first because this will enable you to show up for other people. You cannot give from an empty cup. You cannot give what you don't have. I want you to get a realistic picture of what's going on in your life, and I want you to find out where you are really spending your time and where your energy's going. And to do this, I'd like you to take out a piece of paper or use a notepad, and I want you to log your activity for 1 week. From the time you wake up in the morning to the time you go to bed. And I want you to evaluate and list your current priorities, no more than 7, in order of importance. And I want you to reevaluate those priorities and then write new priorities and post them in a visible area, maybe on your closet, maybe on your refrigerator, maybe in your phone, so that you can read and practice what those new priorities look like. And also, you have decided what you can let go of so you can make room to create healthy habits to support you in your life. So let's talk about for a few minutes, what can a lack of wellness create? A lack of wellness creates higher levels of stress, fatigue, shorter lifespans, premature aging, chronic conditions, unhealthy eating, weight gain, more dependence on drugs and caffeine, and the list just goes on and on. And if you look around, if you look within yourself, you look out into the world, we know more dependence on drugs and caffeine. And at this moment, you or someone you know is suffering from one of the illnesses that I just spoke about. So, how do you get started designing a life that honors your well-being? How do you establish priorities that are important to you? If your life is already full and you have no more time to do anything else, don't worry, you're like most people. So what do? For starters, you definitely don't want to add to an already full plate. That's the good news. You have to take some things away in order to free up time to incorporate the new wellness habits into your life that are important. And this will support you in a high quality life. And I want to tell you, and I've talked about this before in my introduction, it takes courage, it takes commitment, and it takes work to make any change. So if we're talking about optimal health and wellness, I want you to know that wellness is a choice. It's a decision that you make. And I want you to let go of those inner and outer voices and statements that you make every time you want to make a change. You know those statements. It's hard. It's not easy. It's challenging. I don't have the time. When you make statements like that, you reinforce everything you don't want, and the resistance is even greater. I want you to approach this with an open mind and a willingness to do some things differently. Within the next 30 days, I'd like you to eliminate 10 simple things that contribute to draining your energy. For example, I want you to stop going to any meetings that you don't have to at work. I want you to look at excessive time on the computer, your cell phone, your iPod, any electronic device that you have. You know, we've become 24/7 personal on call, all of us. And the only way that's going to stop if you become conscious and aware of how much time you're spending on all these devices. So I want you to become more aware of that and set boundaries around that. And I also want you to eliminate sugar and limit the amount of television and internet surfing on a daily basis. And these are just a few recommendations. If you come up with some more, I want you to let me know what they were so that we can all take note on what worked for you. And once you free up some time, I want you to create a simple action plan and set some small achievable goals to incorporate wellness by doing things that restore and renew your energy. And you can find something that works for you. I want you to clear the clutter in your house, in your car, at work, in your mind. I want you to do those things. And I want you to improve your health and your overall well-being and create more balance. And you have to decide what's important in your life. And I want you to start right now. I hope I've given you at least one thing that you didn't know when you started listening to the podcast, or one thing that you can take away of value. I want to also acknowledge you for listening and really having an open mind and an open heart in figuring out what you need in order to create your own personal wellness definition and foundation. I want to hear from you, and I want to know what you thought about today's podcast. So send me an email or send me a voicemail. I'm Diane Randall. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening to Balanced Living for Busy Professionals. This podcast is sponsored by DianeRandallConsults.com. If you like this show, the best way to support it is by leaving 5-star feedback on iTunes. And please, feel free to email your questions, comments, and suggestions to feedback@DianeRandallConsults.com. Until next week, namaste.